Well, hello, church. It's been a little while since we've brought some news like this to you, but with the new plan that the government's put forward starting this Friday, it does seem appropriate to share some thoughts about where church will be through it all. As you probably know, the plan includes a three-staged easing of restrictions, and that's going to mean lots of change for us as church, kind of moving through that period of time. And look, if you're feeling exhausted by change, there's a good reason for that, because there's lots of change. And our suspicion is that coming out of this set of restrictions we've been in will be more complex than going in. So just be conscious of that with each other and patient and prayerful. So what does it all mean for church? Well, we're not exactly sure. There's lots of things still to work through, and we thought we'd share at least the kind of principles we're using to help us navigate this time, and then give you some detail on what we think we know about church life from all of that. So let me give you the principles we're thinking about. The first, of course, is health. We want to be continuing to concern ourselves for the vulnerable amongst us, the restrictions on the spread of this virus. We want to keep paying attention to what we do to help and be part of that community concern. The second one, though, is that we are most concerned about spiritual well-being. I mean, that's our big priority. We want to do all we can to continue to nurture the spiritual life of each other and draw more and more people to come to know Christ and find life in Him. That's our big driver through it all. But thirdly, another principle we're concerned about is wonderfully the thing that 1 Corinthians is speaking to, the issue of body life. Paul in 1 Corinthians makes very clear that we're not a group of individuals. We are members of one body. And so as a church, we do want to pay attention to caring for each member of the body. And so that's, for us, a very important principle as we think through what we do as a church, going through these staged stepping out of restrictions. So there are the principles. How does it apply for church life for us? Well, the first thing there is to say that even under the government's plan with the third stage of restrictions easing, where you can meet as groups of 100, it doesn't seem to us possible to meet as a physically gathered church here on site. So we will still be streaming church almost certainly through stage 3. Now that might change. The government might alter their recommendations, or there might be some other wonderful things that happen that enable us to come back together. But at this stage, we do imagine us still streaming through stage 3. Now, what do we do in light of that? Well, we want to encourage you to make the most of that time. This relates to our concern about your spiritual well-being, our spiritual well-being. We want to encourage you, as the restrictions ease, to gather together in houses or wherever is appropriate to watch church streaming together, or youth group streaming. It is really much more beneficial to gather with others to do that. There's a great opportunity for physical fellowship, but just a sense of being able to concentrate better, engage better, talk together about the messages and the whole experience, sing together well, and support each other. So we want to encourage you, as you're feeling comfortable, to more and more gather as groups to watch the streaming on the weekends. How does it relate to our small group life? That's probably our other large piece of church. Well, there it's probably more complex. We're not exactly sure of all the details yet. It does seem likely that as we move through the stages, that some groups will probably need to stay on Zoom. There are various reasons for that, and you'll need to work that out together with your pastoral leadership, with your community leader and growth group leader and so on. Others might actually be able to find themselves choosing 2 or 3 houses where you can gather to Zoom in together, to do part of your growth group experience or the whole of it, with some variety around that. Again, that's something that will need to be worked through, because for some groups that's probably not the best option. Particularly groups with kids, that might make life very complex. We need to work that one through. The other possibility is that people might meet together as growth groups outside. Now just be aware, individually and as friends, you can meet with whoever you like as you pay attention to the government expectations. But for growth groups, which are really a formal part of our church life together, we do need to pay attention to what we do in those groups and how it affects the body life of our church and how it affects others. And so we need to pay particular attention to the vulnerable in our growth groups, the ones who might have immune system issues or be very cautious about where we're at. So it will require a lot of concern and love for each other as we work out together what we do through all of this. It's likely too, as we move into stage 3, that youth group will come back together, churn. We hope to start life again through that period. So there'll be a bunch of things that we'll be able to begin again and move forward as a church. Lots of complexity, lots of change. This will be a more difficult time coming out. Be aware of that. Be very prayerful and pray the Lord might do more and more wonderful things even in the midst of this. And with that in mind, just to be aware that this Monday night we've got a question and answer evening over the topic of where is God? Can I know that God is there? How might I know? Great thing to invite your friends to log into, to stream, to bring questions, and pray that the Lord blesses that time as the weeks unfold. Lots that He might do amongst us, and we look forward to the ways He might do far more than we ever imagined.